3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. 855-212-4CBS, number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. Got Stuart Kovacs, big Mike CBS, Moist Mike, Chris Hess, all rocking and rolling, jamming out with me up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We have three guests today. Jamal Mashburn's going to join us in studio coming up 20 minutes from now. We're going to debut a new segment called the College Football Fix, and that will come your way at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, 1:20 p.m. Pacific today. And joining us in that segment, will be the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, Mike Norvell. And then in the final hour of the show, former NFL quarterback Sean Salisbury will join us. But I got to start off with something today, and it has to do with someone that we spent the last 3-4 years talking about in great detail, and that's Russell Wilson. So we all know Russell Wilson is getting released by the Denver Broncos, and Russell Wilson has already been granted permission because the Broncos did this out of the kindness of their hearts to start to be able to talk to other teams. He doesn't have to wait until Monday rolls around with the legal tampering window when the new league year does start officially on Wednesday at, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern. So Russ can start to talk to whoever he wants. He knows his fate. It's sealed, signed, and delivered. It's over. It's done. It's finito with him and the Denver Broncos. And there has been a few teams that I've thrown out there for Russell Wilson. The two teams that I've talked about the most are the Minnesota Vikings and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Steelers were the first team that I talked about and the first team that I mentioned about Russell Wilson potentially being interested in. And I say that very specifically. And I say that in a very certain way that, and this goes back to December. Because anytime we say something about the Steelers on this show, there's always a bunch of websites that end up writing that CBS Sports Radio host says this about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But going back to December, I said Russell Wilson should want to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason why I said that is because let's just say there are a few people that I know that know Russell Wilson. And a few of those people went out of their way to mention in December, when this all went down, all this shenanigans went down between Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, and Russell Wilson was getting benched, a few of them went out of their way to say to me, Pittsburgh, 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 Pittsburgh. They kept on throwing out the Steelers. Now, the reason why I haven't predicted Russell Wilson to the Steelers yet is because I don't think that's where he's going to land. Now, the report today, and I'll get back into this in just a second, but the report today is the Steelers are expected to meet with former Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson per Jerry Dulac, and Pittsburgh has interest in adding him. And that was aggregated via My Sports Update. So I think, and I know, Russ has interest in Pittsburgh. But just taking a meeting and just bringing in Russell Wilson to sit down and talk to him does not mean that this is going to be a takes two to tango situation and both are going to start dancing. It doesn't mean that, because you got to look at it from a Steelers perspective. There is merit to believing that the Steelers would want to bring in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is far past the days of being considered maybe being an elite quarterback or even being considered a great quarterback. The apex for Russell Wilson now is just being a good quarterback. And lost in all of this nonsense from this past year between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton is that Russ improved as a quarterback. Now, people could say, no bleep, Sherlock, when talking to yours truly. It couldn't get any worse than what we saw in year number 1 with Russ with the Denver Broncos. But in year number 2, dare I say it, Russ actually played some good football in what was a toxic situation when him and the coach didn't get along. And quite frankly, there's not a lot of talent on the Denver Broncos. So the ego of Russ still concerns me. Russ focusing more on his brand than actually football at times does concern me. But Russ, the football player, had some good moments in 2023 and some good moments on the field when you watch the games or you delve into the tape. So I could see the Steelers, and this is what I think is happening. I really do believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are bringing in Russell Wilson to talk to him, to sit down, and pretend like there is interest in bringing in Russell Wilson. And I think it's to further send a message to Kenny Pickett that your job is really on the line. Because if you just had a competition this year, and let's say you bring back Mason Rudolph, and it's just Kenny Pickett and it's Mason Rudolph, there is no doubt about it that Kenny Pickett's going to win that quarterback competition. And then you start to think to yourself, even though Kenny is playing for his job and he has to prove it this year on the field, but was there something done in the offseason to maybe put Kenny Pickett in a corner and really make him feel the heat and really make him start to wonder, all righty, I got to do this or else the Steelers are being serious with this being my last year. Because, like, if I'm Kenny Pickett, I'm saying, all right, year one was year one. They started Mitch Trubisky. That was stupid from the start. Then they quickly went back to me. You know, I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't great. And then year number two, it was ups and downs, but I could blame it on Matt Canada for my incompetence. And then also I got hurt. Like, there's a lot of excuses here 2 years in for a first-round pick that Kenny Pickett can use to justify maybe he doesn't feel that his job is on the line. And if they just bring back Mason Rudolph, and that's the only move the Steelers make, and they don't even ever talk to Russell Wilson, I don't think this is a situation where, yes, sure, Kenny knows he has to perform well, but he feels the heat from the organization. And you can leak out that story like they did a few weeks ago that there's conflicting thoughts in the organization, and some want Mason Rudolph to be the guy next year, and others want Kenny Pickett. But a lot of that, I think, is just a lot of rumors. And I don't want to say it's BS, because I do think there is some validity to that, but you don't know where it's coming from necessarily. So I think being public here and already getting it out right now that you're interested in Russell Wilson is kind of just a little baloney from the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's just the way that I view it. I think what they're doing here is trying to create a situation and present the situation where they're making the tone set right from the start with Kenny Pickett, and they're saying, yeah, we're going to go talk to Russell Wilson. You know, even though we just gave you praise a few weeks ago from Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin, the GM and the head coach, we're going to go talk to someone in this league, even though his stock is in the gutter right now, and he's going to take maybe the veteran minimum to go play for wherever he lands next. But this is someone that's been a 9-time Pro Bowler. This is someone that has been a Super Bowl champion and has been to another Super Bowl. So what I think the Steelers are doing here is trying to create fear and get it through Kenny Pickett that this is a put up or shut up year. And I don't ultimately believe that Russell Wilson is landing with the Steelers. Yeah, no crap, Russ would want to go to Pittsburgh. Why wouldn't you? Great defense. You have two good wide receivers in George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. You have two solid running backs in Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Obviously, Russ would want to go there. But do the Steelers really want him? I think it would make sense. I said this before, I'll say it again. I think Russell Wilson would be a better option than Kenny Pickett in 2024. Justin Fields would be a better option. And heck, Michael Penix Jr. would be a better option. I gave you that take earlier in the week. But what I've always said is I don't think the Steelers are actually going to go through with it. And right now, you put a gun to my head, I'm saying Kenny Pickett is the week one quarterback and the week one starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think this is just kind of a dog and pony show right now with Russell Wilson. Well, they'll trot Russell Wilson into Pittsburgh. They'll have him sit down. They'll have a conversation. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan will then speak glowingly about him. But I think it's 100% intentional to try to spark even more of a fire inside the tummy of Kenny Pickett, and then also drill home that we're serious about this being your last year to try to prove something to this organization and show that you belong as a franchise quarterback in this league and also with this legendary organization. So I right now just do not believe that when we get to the fall, when we get to early September, or heck, even the summer, when you start to have these offseason programs underway, that Russell Wilson's going to be a Steeler and Russell Wilson will end up being the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I think he's going elsewhere. And I keep on throwing out this team. I threw it out to Justin Jefferson at the Super Bowl. I really do believe Kirk Cousins is leaving Minnesota. And then for Minnesota, you could kind of get the best of both worlds. You could sign Russ on like $1 million, $2 million contract, get him in extremely cheap, whatever the veteran minimum is, with all that money that he just made, and you have him in Minnesota for a year with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and you also get to play half your games in a dome. That's where I think Russ is going to ultimately land. And I'm not saying that Vikings fans should be jumping for joy and they should be doing somersaults in the streets, because I think it's better if you bring back Kirk Cousins. But I don't think they're bringing back Kirk. I think Kirk is landing in the ATL. I think he's getting ready to go to Atlanta. And you got to pivot quickly if you're Minnesota. And for Minnesota, I don't believe you're going to be able to trade for Justin Fields. I just don't think it's going to happen inside division. You got to go get a veteran. And when I said this to Justin Jefferson at the Super Bowl, you guys need a veteran if Kirk goes, he agreed. They need a veteran. But you could also then draft someone with a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. And there were rumors that they were trying to aggressively move up last year for Anthony Richardson. So I think the next landing spot for Russell Wilson, if I had to take a guess today, even though I would love it for it to be the Raiders, and I would love it for it to be the Steelers, I think it would be fun. I think it's going to be Minnesota. And then Minnesota will either then trade up to go get a first-round quarterback, or they'll stay put, and they'll see if a J.J. McCarthy falls. They'll see if a Michael Penix Jr. falls as well, and then you could make that decision if you're going to pull the trigger or not on drafting a young quarterback. So I am not buying the Russell Wilson to Steelers stuff today. And heck, I started it. You go back to December, there are a bunch of blogs. Oh, Zach Gelb, radio host, CBS Sports radio host, suggests the Steelers to go get Russell Wilson. I think Russ is interested, but I believe the Steelers are putting up this front. They're putting up this facade that they're interested to really send a message to Kenny Pickett and really try to football intimidate Kenny Pickett to maybe get the best out of him in 2024. I don't think the Steelers are going away from Kenny Pickett, even though they should. Here is James Palmer from the NFL Network. He's taking it a step further. I'm giving you destinations for Russ. Russ, I'm trying to help you right now. James Palmer, our pal, says nobody wants Russell Wilson right now.
I spoke to multiple quarterback-needy teams today, and all of them told me right now, guys, that Russell Wilson is not an option in terms of the things they're looking at to fill their opening. Now, yes, free agency hasn't started. There's still time for quarterbacks to change teams and that market to fall. There's still the draft and that market to fall. And who winds up with a quarterback, who doesn't, there's still time. But as of right now, when I spoke to multiple teams that need a quarterback in this offseason, Russell Wilson is not one of the options, Buck, they are looking at. And it is wild that this is just 2 years removed from the trade that went down from Seattle to Denver.
It is wild, but there's a lot of specific things that James Palmer said there. Yeah, that's not a surprise. Russell Wilson's not going to be a number one option for anybody right now. Like, you're a team like the Raiders, the Vikings, the Steelers, any team that could be interested in a quarterback. Russ isn't the number one priority. Maybe trading for Justin Fields is. Maybe signing Kirk Cousins is. But those are only two guys. Justin Fields can only land in one spot. Kirk Cousins can only go to one spot. And it's tough to play the draft game. But if you could get someone that had a decent, good season last year in Russell Wilson for a vet minimum, well, then, yeah, that's something that could be your third or fourth option, but then it ends up becoming your starting option for next year. I just don't believe it's going to be the Steelers, because ultimately I think the Steelers rock and roll another year with Kenny Pickett. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. When we come on back in 5 minutes, joining us in studio, played his college basketball at Kentucky, then spent a bunch of years in the association. Jamal Mashburn will join us.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show, the coast on CBS Sports Radio. This March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. The Kentucky legend and former All-Star Jamal Mashburn is teaming up with Exact Sciences and the Blue Hat Foundation to challenge people 45 and older to box out colon cancer by getting screened for the disease. And the former NBA player, Kentucky superstar, is kind enough to join us right now on CBS Sports Radio in studio. Jamal, thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
I've been doing good, man. Back in New York, live in Miami, and it's a little colder up here, but I'm surviving. I got thin blood now.
Well, you're used to it. Yeah. Have you now become one of these people in Florida when I get a call from my grandmother and it's like 75 degrees that they whip out the North Face now?
100%.
Oh, okay.
100%.
So you got soft.
And then, 100%. Yeah. I have no. You know what? With me, it's just living in Miami. Miami is a dynamic city. It still has enough room for growth that you can make an impact on it. I can't make an impact on New York City. New York City is going to always be what it is, but Miami's a nice place to be. But I'm enjoying basketball retirement.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad life. Obviously, I can't speak for it myself, but. We were just talking right before you got on the air, and you also got Joe Stonecrabs in there.
Yep.
I know you're going
Saturday.
Yeah, you'll see my guy Bones at the door.
Yeah,
and you'll get the excellent Stonecrabs, and then the most underrated $12 or $14 fried chicken you'll ever get.
Yeah, I mean it's when people think of Joe Stonecrab, they might as well sometimes put Joe's fried chicken up there because a lot of people have known for that, and it's awesome. It's very good. I mean the service is phenomenal. Legendary spot. Been there for many moons. So. Good luck if you can get a reservation. It's a worth a while table there. So
you met Rick Pitino in the late 80s, early 90s, right?
I would say it was for me. It was late 80s, mid 80s. I used to see him quite a bit at 5-Star basketball camp when he was the Providence head coach at that particular time. So they used to have these camps up in Holmesdale, New York, and they were bringing a lot of the top high school prospects in there and different things like that. About 400 kids or so, and he would do like motivational speeches and teaching clinics. And for some reason, he would always pull me out of the crowd. I used to tease him after a while, you were recruiting me back then, you know what I mean? And so we developed a relationship along with the other assistant coach, Herb Sendek. He was the primary recruiter. And then when Coach Pitino took the job at the New York Knicks, I really started to follow him there. And his style of play and everything like that. And then once he left the Knicks, he took the Kentucky job in '89, and that's when he started to recruit me heavily to go to Kentucky.
Is it surreal to you still to this day? Now that he's still coaching because and he's on the sideline with St. John's, and when he was in Greece and then he goes to Iona, people thought Iona was going to be his last stop, and now St. John's is supposed to be his last stop.
I don't. To me, Rick Pitino is the true phrase of lifer. I don't see Coach Pitino doing anything else but being around the game of basketball. If Coach Pitino left coaching, I think the natural footprint for him and his age would probably be, somewhere as a consultant, a management, maybe overseas or something like that, or even a commentator of the game. I don't see him ever leaving the game. He still has competitive fire. He can still turn around a program. I think the landscape has changed on him a little bit, where it's pretty much become professional sports with NIL and the transfer portal. It's always been that with the money that's in college athletics. But, he's a lifer. He's a teacher of the game. He loves it. He goes through his ebbs and flows during the season, just like any coach. He's probably a little bit more emotional about it and outwardly emotional.
But it worked a few weeks ago. He threw the entire team under the bus, and then it's like, that lit a fire under their ass, and they start playing better.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different time and a different age when, things like that during my era of playing with him, that was pretty common.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why he wanted to recruit 3 New York City kids to go to Kentucky, because he only had 3 scholarships. I was the only one that accepted to go at that particular time. Was he wanted kids that could listen to the message and not the tone, And New York City kids during that time, I can care less if you curse at me or scream at me. Yeah. What are we doing?
Tell me another day that ends in Y.
Exactly, yeah. I get cursed and screamed at walking down the street. No problem, so it's all good.
Talking to Jamal Mashburn right now. Looking back at your Final Four run with March Madness coming up in a few weeks, what's still to this day, when you think of those memories in March, that just still stand out to you?
Well, I can't run away from it. If I tried, it would be the Duke-Kentucky game and Christian Laettner hitting the shot. And that was the Elite Eight in '92. And then also my experience in the Final Four playing against the Fab Five. Yeah. Chris Webber and Jalen Rose and all those guys. 2 different scenarios. 1992 for the University of Kentucky squad, we were coming off of probation. Nobody expected a lot out of us. It was almost like the David and Goliath story facing Duke at that time. Christian Laettner, to me, is probably one of the best college players of all time based upon his accolades and his impact on the game. And then you fast forward to 1993 and facing the Fab Five, a cultural phenomenon, and what they meant to this game of college basketball. They might have been the true NIL group, when you think about it, all the things that they've kind of ushered in. meaning the baggy shorts, the lifestyle, different things like that. So it was we just didn't have enough to get past the combination of Duke and all that they had to offer. But to me, there was a winner and a loser, but Kentucky actually won, in my opinion, because you were back on the map. And then getting to the Final Four in New Orleans, I wound up being a New Orleans Pelican at one point. You know what I mean? So that's a full circle moment. But for me, that's the purity of the game, at least from a player standpoint. Take all the money, the sponsorships, and all those different things out. It's one and you're done. It's like a pickup game, in the streets of New York City or wherever you play at. Somebody got to call next, and you might not be the person that will be continuing to play. So that's what I love about March Madness and the college basketball experience. It's show up, and you might have your off night, and you might lose and go home, or you might be a 16 or whatever seed, 11 seed or whatever it is, and you can make it to the Final Four.
I never thought about it until the way that you were just looking back at your matchup against the Fab Five. Everyone then remembers the championship game with Weber and the timeout.
North Carolina. Yeah.
So you lose the round before, obviously, in the Final Four, the semifinals. Do you remember watching that national championship game at all? You guys weren't still there, right?
Yeah, we stayed.
Oh, you stayed? Okay.
Yeah, we stayed. So I think the championship game was on a Monday, and we lost on a Saturday, I think it was. Yeah. And Coach Pitino was just like, hey, you're in New Orleans. Go hang out. We're going to stay to after this. I think we flew out that Tuesday morning, and that Tuesday morning actually is when I had my meetings with the 4 agents and 4 business managers that Coach Pitino has set up. And that was the process that we talked about before my junior year started. But we stayed. Coach Pitino was he was a big part of it's basketball, but also you guys are college kids. You got to enjoy the experience, and that's what he let us have and have that opportunity. And also we had other people who were freshmen that probably need to see that experience. They didn't play a lot. I think one player played a lot, not a lot, but was Tony Delk and also Roderick Rhodes. But it was one of those things where he was trying to show them, what the experience can be like by experiencing the whole Final Four rather than just the piece you were in.
Talking to Jamal Mashburn, who joins us in studio right now. When you get to the current day Wildcats, we know John Calipari has been there a long time. First few years in, he won a national championship. When you're at a school like Kentucky, you win one, it's okay. When are you going to get the next one? How do you look at so far the long tenure of John Calipari?
I think it's kind of like the evolution of adding social media into the mix. People having a voice that are part of the fan base that gets louder and louder when they don't think you have achieved what they think they are entitled to have, and that's championships. But the competitive landscape of college basketball has changed. Even if you look at it before NIL and the transfer portal, who he recruited were one-and-done kids, the top of the class and everything like that. So his roster turned over every year, and I don't think people realize how difficult that is to have continued success and get a new group every year in there and have to restart it. Back before then, kids stayed 3 to 4 years. And you also had kids in there that were probably not pros, but they were very impactful glue guys that did a lot on the college level. One of my good friends who I played with the Gauchos with here in New York City, Orlando Antigua, he's the assistant coach there. So me and him stay in contact quite a bit. And, it's a pressure cooker down there. It's not everybody's built for Kentucky basketball. I've seen a lot of kids, and even when I played in my time there, that transferred. They were from Kentucky. They just couldn't handle the pressure of it. But I think John Calipari, in my opinion, has been a success. I kind of racked my brain. We had Tubby Smith after, who coached me and helped recruit me as well, then Billy Gillespie. Who else could step foot into that program and consume everything that needs to be consumed that goes around just beyond coaching? There are very few guys that can step in there and have success. I mean, I don't even know if a guy like Roy Williams could have had success there.
Interesting.
That's a different personality. Coach Pitino, when he got there, he had that New York charm with him, or you want to call it New York BS with him, that he can navigate the politics of different things, bring people closer, but also keep other people away from his players so that we didn't get in trouble as far as, extracurricular stuff. But there's not very many guys that
Coach K, Tom Izzo.
I don't even know if Coach K.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't. Coach K, he embraced the one and done late in his career. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if he had the capacity to do it. I think you need to have a little bit of salesmanship with you. I think could do it. Probably Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl at Auburn. I got to know him a little bit.
I like him a lot. He comes on the show a bunch.
Yeah, he has a personality for it. He's engaging and different things like that. So there's only a few that I can see in my mind that can actually sit at the center of that job and have success and longevity.
So safe to say you're not at a point now where it's like, oh, we got to get. I'm always I like Calipari to be clear, but a lot of some people in the fan base, even though what the contract is, they're like, oh, you got to get him out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I think grass is not always greener. You know what I mean? And then also too, it's the landscape has changed on how you get players nowadays. It's come down to the Power Five. I think football has made an impact on that part of it as far as basketball is concerned, the different conference alignment. A lot of factors. I would say Kentucky basketball is probably the closest thing to a professional basketball franchise where your coach has to be a CEO. Other coaches and other programs can just be managers of talent or manage the program, but as a collective, that's all of Kentucky that supports it. Louisville's out of the question right now, but I don't want to kick them while they're down.
Eventually.
I don't want to kick them while they're down. You know what I mean? Because Kenny Payne was once even I played against when he's at Louisville. He did coach the University of Kentucky.
I know you guys. You like to beat the crap out of Louisville. Come on.
It's a lot of pressure in that state. It's a lot of pressure. You're the main thing. Did
that pain you when Pitino was coaching at Louisville?
Nah, me and Coach Pitino, one thing about us was we had a relationship beyond Kentucky basketball. And he approached me when I was a young kid and always approached me in the way that he valued my ability, physical ability, but also he valued my mind as well, and on the basketball side. So me and him had an open dialogue and conversation. In a way I've always looked at, once you become a pro, and he went to the Boston Celtics, I didn't think he should have been the president of the Boston Celtics. He should have just kept the head coaching job and let somebody else handle the personnel. But I understand why he did it. He wanted control. I just think that, me and him, once I became a pro, I understood the business of college basketball.
Different when you're in college, a little bit more naive.
Yeah, you're a little bit more naive. You're a little bit more emotional. You're probably more attached to the institution and the program and different things like that.
Rah-rah of everything.
Yeah, but once you've seen professional sports and been traded a couple times, it becomes a lot different.
Absolutely. Wrap it up with Jamal Mashburn. Do you like the NBA today?
I get that question a lot. Yes. I think there probably needs to be a little bit more of tweaks. I think the analytics have impacted the game to the point where guys are looking at evaluating using analytics and not necessarily valuing other aspects of the game. For example, I watch guys run for threes. Fine, that's cool. We did that in college. That's not a problem. But to me, is when people talk about the lack of value for the mid-range game. To me, that's where you create space. It's difficult to guard at the three-point line because you have opportunities, but just from three to rim, there's still a middle game that is required to win in the playoffs. NBA players can take away the perimeter. They have a shot block at the rim. Sometimes the best offense is the most open shot, and that's the mid-range 15 to 17 to 18 footer, which I don't think they value as much. But as a true basketball player, you have to have all three levels, in my opinion, to be an effective player and have that skill set. I like the game. I think the skill set of the players reminds me of when myself, Grant Hill, Rodney Rogers, Penny Hardaway, the guys that weren't, Penny was a point guard, but a point forward. I think that ushered in what we're seeing today. And I think what's been eliminated, if you take a look at it, Chris Paul is the last remaining true point guard. Now the point guard has to be a combo guard because you have your big that can initiate offense, non-traditional centers.
Closer to a 2 than a 1.
Correct. So you have to be able to shoot, dribble, and pass and have an IQ for it and also be able to defend your spot. And I think sometimes people get confused. What does defend your spot actually mean? You're not going to guard an NBA player one-on-one. You're just not going to do it. It's being able to just contain them and contest. But I like where it's at. I'm a season ticket holder with the Miami Heat. Chat with Pat Riley quite a bit. But I go to the games. It's entertainment. The Heat have done really, really well, getting to 2 finals appearances and different things like that. So I like where it's at. But I do think they need to probably usher in some more rules that allow the defense to be a little more physical.
My problem is the commissioner has basically created a culture where the regular season feels irrelevant. And now with this play-in tournament, which has only been successful because you had guys like Steph and LeBron in it. When you have big-name stars, people are going to go watch that. But in the regular season, I understand load management and stuff like that is going to happen. And when you're the Raptors and you win and Kawhi sits out 22 games, no one remembers the regular season.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of times now where I just think people don't care about the regular season anymore. And that's a problem as a sports fan.
Yeah, I can see that. And, the narrative, I think, shifted. It's almost like
this in-season tournament I thought was a disgrace.
I thought it was a success because it was the inaugural one.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what it looks like in year 4 and 5. How do people take it? How does it transpire? I don't know if the neutral site in Vegas was the right fit.
I think it'll be more of a thing than the thing.
Correct. I agree with you on that part of it. And also the celebration of the in-season tournament. That's kind of weird, But I do think that, you're correct in saying that I think a lot of the stuff has been born or burdened on the player. Load management wasn't created by the player. It was created by the organization. If you ask any owner if he wants his superstar to be playing an all-star game, he'll say no. Probably won't say no publicly, but privately he doesn't want his asset to get hurt. So I think that ultimately 82 games is a lot. The players have gotten bigger, stronger, faster. Injury considerations. But that's the evolution of the game, in my opinion, and they're just trying to figure it out on how to keep guys healthy. And I think sometimes science on the preventative side goes a little bit too far to the cuddling part, But, I think, me personally, that narrative was created by guys who are veterans and organizations who are specifically going after championships. And we got to be realistic here. Not every organization is going after a championship.
100%. There's no doubt about that. All righty, before we let you run, this March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and Kentucky legend and former All-Star Jamal Mashburn is teaming up with Exact Sciences and the Blue Hat Foundation to challenge people 45 and older to box out colon cancer by getting screened for the disease. I know this is something that's very important to you. Just tell us what we're doing.
Yeah, it's important for people 45 and older to get screened. I was impacted by colon cancer with my mother, Helen Mashburn. She was diagnosed, ironically, in my best season of my NBA career when I became an All-Star in 2003. If she'd have got screened earlier, we probably wouldn't have to deal with some healthcare hurdles that we had to deal with. And she lived a long life and everything. Like, it was 18 years in remission, passed away pre-COVID from a heart condition. But I understand the impact that, as a caregiver and as a son, how it impacts not only the person who has colon cancer, but everybody around you, the caregivers and everything like that, and how it impacts that. My mother didn't want to burden me through that season. And when I finally saw her, my mother would carry around 200 pounds at 5'11". When I saw her, she was 100 pounds. So the disease is preventable. And I've often looked at life as in professional sports. It's almost like the older you get, the trimmer you have to be, if you want to have success. So why not use that health is wealth mentality going into life? And if there's certain things that we can prevent or have open dialogue that shares information with others. And I think as men, sometimes we don't want to talk about health at all. You know what I mean? It's just not a topic of conversation for whatever reason, but we need to have that dialogue, and that's how I was impacted about it. I don't do a lot of things commercially, but when this opportunity came, it really hit close to home, and it was something that I wanted to get behind because I had a personal experience with it.
Well, hey, it's a fantastic message and one that a lot of people need to hear, and enjoyed the chat. Appreciate you coming on into the studio today.
Thanks, man. Have a good time, man.
Yep, you got it. Enjoy Joe Stonecrab, by the way.
Thank you. We'll do.
Make sure you say hello to Bones. We gotta make sure Bones is happy. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a timeout. We'll come on back after these short messages. Update time. Here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today to find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. The Broncos continue their roster purge today with safety Justin Simmons, the latest to go. He was the team's longest tenured player. The 8-year veteran was going to have the fourth highest salary cap charge. The move now saves Denver more than $14 million. The Timberwolves try to reclaim sole possession of the top spot in the West, currently tied with the Idle Thunder, and will face the Pacers in Indiana. However, they'll be shorthanded with Karl-Anthony Towns out with a meniscus injury. The Celtics are currently the NBA's best team. Denver is a game off the lead in the Western Conference, and the defending champs host the team looking to take that title away tonight. It's only March, but it could certainly be a preview of the NBA Finals. Denver coming off a loss to the Suns that halted a 6-game winning streak. The Warriors ended the Bucks' surge at 6 straight wins with a 35-point victory last night. They'll look to build on it tonight when they host the Bulls. And the Red Sox have come to terms with pitcher Brian Bale on a 6-year extension worth $55 million. I'm Rich Hacker.
Hey, this is Bart Winkler inviting you to join me here on CBS Sports Radio for The Bart Winkler Show. Weeknights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by the new Hyundai Tucson, available with complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Now it's easy to use your phone to control your Tucson. All righty, let's go to Dalton Schultz, former Cowboys tight end, now with the Texans and is going to remain there. He was on the Pat McAfee show. And he laid into a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys culture. Let's listen up to Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, no, that was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me is like the focus is just football, you know what I mean? And going back and like telling some people like how being around the Cowboys like practice facility and, you know, game day, describing some of the interactions and stuff that you see on a day-to-day basis, like surprised a lot of people. They're like, holy crap, like that actually happens like at a practice facility. And like, you know, it's just, you think it's normal. And then you come to a place like this.
Like what? You don't have to out anything, but like, what are you?
No, dude, it's just like, there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room. And they've got like a one-way mirror for people to like look at. Like it's literally, it's a zoo, dude. It's just people tapping on the glass, like trying to get people's attention as they're doing, you know, power cleans or whatnot. And it's just, it's different. And I mean, that's the brand that they've built. That's, you know, that's what Jerry Jones likes. That's the way that they run things. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, you don't realize like how many, you know, eyeballs and how much that can maybe, you know, distract from, you know, stuff just in the locker room, being in the facility, until you go somewhere else and you're like, holy crap, like, dude, there's none of that.
It's kind of crazy because now he's with the Texans when the Texans are on an upswing, and the Texans had one of the worst cultures in the league for about a 2 or 3 stretch run with Bill O'Brien towards the end, and then also Jack Easterby, who somehow got all that power in that organization. And now you have a member of the Texans in Dalton Schultz ripping the Cowboys culture. But he's not wrong. And I've said this for the last 3 years. Jerry Jones now as an owner does not evaluate the success of his team by wins and losses. His wins and losses and his wins are how much drama he could stir up. And I don't think anything Dalton Schultz said there was out of line. I don't think anything Dalton Schultz said there was wrong. Let's hear new Panthers coach Dave Canales. He was on Up and Adams with Kay Adams, and he was asked about bringing Russell Wilson, who used to coach with the Seahawks, to Carolina.
You could bring Russell in here. I'm seeing tweets about it all day long on my timeline. Why won't you? Or why don't you?
Well, this is not the situation for Russ, but what I will say about him is taking that chance and that opportunity to go to Denver. I really admire him for that. I know exactly what he wants, what he needs, what he's going to ask for. I can anticipate those things, and he really gambled on himself to go and try to do something a different way to see what that could become. So, and what it's become, hey, the film's out there, but I really credit him for that.
The film's out there. That's his way of saying, yeah, that's why we're not interested in him. Even though I didn't think the film was that bad this past year with Russell Wilson. But why would the Panthers bring him in? Like, I know some people are saying, oh, you sit Bryce Young for a year. When you're the number 1 overall pick and you've already played a season, you don't sit a year. The year to sit someone a year was the first year. And I don't know if Russell Wilson would be a good mentor. So, sorry, there's no way that the Panthers should even consider that. I think it's crazy that I'm not faulting Kay for bringing it up because it's a newsworthy question, but it's crazy that that's even a conversation bringing Russell Wilson potentially to the Carolina Panthers. Let's go to Joe Flacco. He was on SiriusXM NFL Radio, and he was asked if he's interested in returning to the Here we go, Brownies, here we go, hoo, hoo.
I can tell you that, all things equal, Cleveland is definitely the place that I would feel best about. Now, then you have to get into the world of, is somebody going to actually give me a chance to play, and all the different things that go into that. I can't help but have a special feeling about Cleveland just because of the few weeks that I spent there and how great the city was. And listen, at the end of the day, I don't necessarily want that to be a huge part of all of the decision, but I do think it will factor into the decision if I end up having a decision to make.
Joe Flacco has to go somewhere where he doesn't believe in the starting quarterback. No one's going to bring him in unless it's a mentor situation where you want to sit someone. No one is going to bring in Joe Flacco with them thinking he is the day one starter. So when I hear that, and I know he said if all things are equal, and we don't know if they will be, I wonder what Joe Flacco's true thoughts are on Deshaun Watson. And can Deshaun Watson, with all that guaranteed money, get back to moving in the right direction as a quarterback? And if Joe stays in Cleveland, I think unintentionally that's him revealing that he doesn't believe that Deshaun Watson's going to have a successful season this upcoming year. Let's go to Howard Eskin. He was on Sports Radio 94 WIP, and he was asked about the Eagles' interest in Saquon Barkley.
I didn't believe it, but I checked it, and they do have interest in Saquon Barkley.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a wow.
Wow.
That is a wow.
You can't pay a running back that kind of money. That's why they keep on bouncing around. And, Mike, the thing I've always said, you can just shake a tree and running backs come falling out of them. You see all the running backs that are unsigned, but I think they're trying to work on something that would not be fully guaranteed.
During the legal tampering period, which starts Monday, and then the new league year starts Wednesday when free agency officially commences, I hope we get a lot of running back news, because I don't want to sit here and have the same conversation as last year about the running back market, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think these running backs are going to have to wait, and there's a lot of them out there. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler. You go on and on and on. Tony Pollard with the running backs that are going to be hitting free agency. Now Joe Mixon as well. And I don't think it's going to be a quick dash for these running backs to go secure the cash. I didn't even try to rhyme that right there, but I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. How about that? How do you like me now? How about that? But yeah, the Eagles should be interested in Saquon. So should the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Coming on back, Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Yo, what's shaking? Zach Gelb Show. Hour number 2 of our radio program. The college football fix for the year of 2024 is going to debut 15 to 20 minutes from now as Florida State head coach Mike Norvell will join us from now until the start of the college football season. Once a week, we will do a college football fix, and we will feature a coach, a player, big-time national analyst, somebody that is involved in the college football world. And we'll start things off with one of the biggest topics from last season, and that was the Florida State Seminoles, with them getting squeezed out of the college football playoff, even though at the time they were an undefeated ACC champion. And now DJ Uiagalelei, maybe one of my favorite names of all time, after playing at Clemson, then transferring over to Jonathan Smith's old school in Oregon State. He has now made the decision to transfer and go back into the ACC, direct competition between Clemson and Florida State. And we will get to see DJU square off against his old school, maybe more than once this year. So Florida State, Clemson, the two teams right now, two big-time teams football in the ACC. And I know that Miami fans will also say, hey, what about us? With Cam Ward, who we thought was going to the NFL draft and then ultimately landing back at Miami. We'll see who else does pop up this year in college football inside the ACC, but we'll spend a few minutes talking about the Florida State Seminoles with Mike Norvell 20 minutes from now on this show. All righty, I'm going to give you a statement here, and I just want the initial reaction from Samter and Stu. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback entering the 2024 NFL season in the NFC. I think he is the preeminent quarterback in the NFC entering the 2024 season. Just give me a quick snippet, very quick initial reaction. Samter, go.
No, I don't think he's the best.
Okay. Stu?
I agree with Mike. I don't think he's the best.
All righty. Then let me ask you this question as a follow-up. Samter, who would then be the best quarterback in your opinion in the NFC if it is not my guy, Matthew Stafford?
I still think that the best is going to be Jalen Hurts. I think Dak is probably right now better as far as just talent and ability. I think Kirk Cousins might be better depending on coming off that injury.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Love.
No, don't go through the whole list here of the
Jordan
entire
Love
NFC.
might be better. I think those
Who is the best quarterback in the NFC?
Yeah, I think those are the four guys that I would put ahead of Matthew Stafford. And Brock Purdy.
Wow.
As being better quarterbacks than Matthew Stafford.
Okay, I think that is extremely disrespectful, but that's fine. That will go into further of my point in just a second. Stu, who is the best quarterback in the NFC if it's not Matthew Stafford?
I think it is still Jalen Hurts. Even though he had some issues last year, I would still go with Hurts at this point.
By the way, I don't know how much we should look into this, but I think Jalen Hurts is all business for this year. And I think Stu and Samter would like this because they're Yankee honks and Yankee homers. But did you see what Jalen Hurts happened to do today? He is now clean shaven. The goatee is gone. So maybe this is a new start of the season. Shave the goatee. He's clean shaven. And we're going to get back to the old version of one Jalen Hurts. Does that change the conversation at all? I know not for Stu, because he just said Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC. But Samter, guy is clean shaven now in the offseason. Is this you being a Yankee honk? Oh, everyone's got to trim the beard, trim the mustache, all that stuff.
No, but I think for Jalen Hurts, he had the long hair, then he cut his hair and he got better. And so maybe if he shaves the beard, he'll get even better. Seems like the less hair that this guy has, the better he is as a quarterback.
This is what we're doing now. This is what sports media has become. And I guess it's partially me to blame because I started the conversation just in a jovial way and
my answer was clearly ridiculous.
No, you were being serious. Because you know why?
He's like Samson.
You know why? I think you unintentionally sent the message right there. When you were clean shaven a few weeks ago, I will say I thought that was some of your best work as a producer on the show. Now the beard is back, and they're calling you Samter the Slacker around here at CBS Sports Radio.
I do use Slack very often.
You do. Maybe I have to send a message, send a DM to Mrs. Samter and say, maybe you need to start pushing to your husband once again that he needs to get the clippers out and shave that beard.
You don't have to push her very hard. She hates it.
She does.
Oh, the baby loves it. The wife does not.
So how have you won this power battle right now with your wife that you are keeping the beard? Because I feel like in most relationships, even though, right, we could all be like macho man and we could say, oh, no, my wife won't tell me what to do. My girlfriend won't tell me what to do. 9.9 times out of 10, the woman in the relationship wears the pants, and ultimately what they want, they get. The only like 1/10 or 10th of the time that we get what we want is if they did something wrong and then they feel bad and they feel guilty and they have to make it up to us and maybe understand, okay, you got to kind of genuflect here the one day out of the year. So I'm actually surprised that your wife hates this beard and you still have this this bushy beard just roaming around CBS Sports Radio. So how have you been able to hold off the wolves here and prevent your beard from just getting taken off?
It's all about the baby. Whatever the baby likes goes. So, I mean, nothing that my wife likes matters if the baby doesn't like it and vice versa. At this point, whatever the baby likes is what we're doing. It just makes life easier. So, like, you know what? Make our lives less convenient and interesting based off of making it easier for the baby. And then, in turn, becomes easier for us.
I do think babies like facial hair. Because my niece, and I don't have much facial hair, but when I have like a little bit of a beard, and I shave pretty frequently, my niece will grab the little part of my beard that I have. So is your wife, is your baby, because of how much beard you have? Is she just like ripping patches of beard out each and every night?
She likes to like run her fingers through the beard. She does, however, and this might be too much information.
Uh-oh. TMI?
She does try to rip off the chest hair. She does like to grab full-on handfuls of chest hair and just yank. And it's painful and it's awful, but you know what? Like I said, when you have a kid and you just want her to be happy, because when she's happy, she's not crying. And when she's not crying, she's more likely to sleep and not bug you. The pain of pulled chest hair is way better than all the other crap that you have to deal with.
Okay. Now, I will get my back. I don't have a ton of back hair, but I will get my back waxed.
Get it lasered.
I haven't. I don't know. I kind of want to feel the pain. I'm a little weird that way. No, I'm just kidding. I get my back waxed. That's a tough thing to say. 1 to 2 times a year. And every time I get my back wax, that the lady that does the waxing, she goes to me, you ever think about getting your chest waxed? I can't understand for the life of me how anyone, when you have a good amount of chest hair, would get their chest waxed. That, as a male, that's got to be the most painful thing.
And honestly, I don't like the look, at least for me. I mean, I guess if I had like 6-pack and pecs and all that, it'd be different.
If you look like Dave Canales, you'd definitely be getting waxed all the time.
But the look of a completely bare male chest is kind of weird to me. So like, I'll take the clippers and I'll trim it down, right? As opposed to it being like, an overgrown, jungle down, around my chest.
Down there? Whoa, wait a second, Chief.
Well, I mean, I guess down, but no, get your mind out of the gutter. No, but like,
down there.
Like a little trim of the chest is good to shorten it up. But the weird, like the whole completely bare male chest is just very weird to me, unless you're a bodybuilder or something.
Yeah, which
or like a professional wrestler.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here. If you're watching us at youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, look at us 3 handsome hunks, us handsome gentlemen. I would not say the 3 of us are a bodybuilder. None of us. Stu, no. Me, no. Samter, I think he may think he is a bodybuilder. But
I hide it well. No, there's nothing underneath here.
Anyway, getting back to this conversation. Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC. Here's why. I know what I'm getting. Matthew Stafford, coming off the injury, had a phenomenal season this past year. And there was a question of how much longer is he going to do this? He erased that in 1 season. And not only that, they now have another emerging star in the sport where they already had a number 1 wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, who, quite frankly, I think gets disrespected. Because whenever you do these top 5 wide receiver lists, people just don't say Cooper Kupp. It wasn't that long ago where he won a Super Bowl MVP and had the Triple Crown in wide receiving that year. And now you just added one of my favorite names in the NFL. Now, in college, it's DJ Uiagalelei. And in the NFL, for a while, it was Tua Tagovailoa. But Puka Nacua is just an absolute sensation. And I think it's only the beginning of what we got to see this past year. And that's just such a dynamic duo. And then you got Williams going in the backfield towards the late of the season. You have the brain of Sean McVay as well. The outlook of the Rams and Stafford this offseason compared to last offseason is a difference of day and night. Like it's a complete 180 from where we were a year ago. Like I look at all the other quarterbacks in the NFC that would be in this conversation. I have to throw out Kirk Cousins right away because we don't know where Kirk is going to go. I think Kirk is landing in Atlanta. I think Kirk will stay in the NFC. But if he's not, and let's say he goes to someone in the AFC that we weren't thinking about, then this conversation with Kirk being the best quarterback in the NFC is irrelevant. But even so, when I use Stafford as the standard, Stafford has won a Super Bowl. And Stafford, even though I like Kirk, and I think Kirk sometimes gets dragged through the mud, Stafford's just a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins. Jalen Hurts had 1 great season. And Jalen Hurts is someone where I don't want to compare him directly to Stafford because I do think the ceiling for Hurts is higher than the ceiling for Stafford. But for Hurts, he was in a similar spot to not necessarily where Stafford was last year, but just a perception of we don't know what the future is going to look like for Jalen Hurts. For Dak, I think Dak and Kirk Cousins are very similar, where the regular season numbers will always be good, but come playoff time, there's just not that conviction. There's just not that belief that they're going to get the job done. Love is starting to pick up a lot of steam, Jordan Love, but it's 1 year so far. Let's see some consistency there. Jared Goff, I think it's a similar conversation where we know that he's taken some teams far in the playoffs. He's been to an NFC title game with the Lions. He went to a Super Bowl with the LA Rams. But I don't ever think you look at him and use the word great. Brock Purdy had a good season, is in a good environment. He's not better than Stafford. Here's the one people are sleeping on, Kyler Murray. I think everyone's forgotten about Kyler Murray, who was a good quarterback, then got hurt, had the collapse in the playoffs and the collapse down the stretch in the regular season with Cliff Kingsbury, came back, played solid. Marquise Hollywood-Brown probably going to go somewhere else in free agency, but in all likelihood, you are getting Marvin Harrison Jr. And there is significant upside in Kyler Murray. Like, that's the thing with all these quarterbacks in the NFC. Like, Hurts is the guy with the highest ceiling, I think, but there's that unknown. I know what I'm getting with Stafford. And Stafford was underappreciated in Detroit because there just wasn't a lot of great talent outside of Megatron. And then in LA, first year there, he won a Super Bowl, then had to go through the injuries, the thought of retirement, then coming back. And this past year, he put up some really good football. So I think at first, a lot of people hear me say, oh, Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC. He's the quarterback I trust the most. They're like, whoa, wait a second. Because it doesn't resonate that right away. But when you go through it, who are you really putting your money on? Is it Hurts? Is it Dak? Is it Love? Is it Goff? Is it Kirk? Is it Brock Purdy? Is it Kyler Murray? There's a lot of question marks there. At least I know what I'm getting with Matthew Stafford.
I'll just say this very quickly before we break from Mike Norvell. I think it's a different conversation between who's the best and who's the most trustworthy. I don't think Stafford's the best. However, if you had to ask me to put my money on any of these NFC quarterbacks in a big game, who do I trust the most to make a run or to play well in the playoffs? I would actually agree, shockingly, that it is Stafford. I think Jordan Love is a better quarterback right now than Stafford, but I just don't know yet if I can trust him. Dak Prescott, I think, is a better quarterback than Stafford, but I just don't know if I can trust him. Brock Purdy, same thing. So I think there is a difference between better and more trustworthy. And I think that you're correct that Matthew Stafford, and it's weird to say it because when you first said it,
doesn't feel like it. Even I said it.
No, I'm listening to you talking like there's no way. I think he's the most trustworthy quarterback in the NFC, and that's weird to say.
It shows the discrepancy in all the great quarterbacks of the AFC. And maybe we'll do this another day. How many quarterbacks in the AFC would you rather have if, like, we put them in the NFC? Like, who would be in the top 3 just in the AFC if we just switched them over into the NFC?
Top of my head, I'm saying 10.
I don't know if the number is that high, but like Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, just for starters. You know, you can even throw Rodgers in there, who's in the NFC forever. Just for starters, Lamar Jackson, too.
Herbert, I would put over. Yep, Stroud.
Like, you got 6 guys right away.
Probably Tua over most of those guys.
See, Tua and Herbert, I think, is a different conversation, but we're up against it. We'll get back to that at another day or maybe later on in the show. All righty, we'll come on back. College Football Fix with Mike Norvell.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining.
We miss college football.
Milrose stands in. He throws into the end zone.
He caught it.
It's caught by Isaiah Bond in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama.
We can't wait for the 2024 season.
Hands it off to Edwards, who bounce it outside. Got him at 40. Got him at 30. Donovan Edwards is in the clear. His second touchdown run of the ball game. This time from 46 yards. And Michigan has taken a 13-3 lead on the second touchdown of the night from the man who was not tripping.
And we're counting down the days to kick off.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
I said no.
Are we there yet?
What's wrong with your ears? Here is your college football fix, only on the Zach Gelb Show.
Welcome back in. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. 170 days away until Florida State kicks off their 2024 football season, and they're going to Dublin, Ireland to do battle with Georgia Tech. And now joining us is the head coach of the defending ACC Florida State Seminole champions, and that is Mike Norvell, kind enough to join us on CBS Sports Radio. Coach, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing it. How you been?
No, everything's been going good. Appreciate you having me on, and we're excited. We're a couple days away from kicking off spring practice. It's been it's been a great winter program for our guys. We wrap that up here tomorrow, and just excited about seeing this team come together. And obviously there's a lot of work that's been invested, but a lot of work that's still left to be done. But definitely fired up about getting out there on the practice field.
Let me start you off with last season, with how it ended. that message and what you guys accomplished, sometimes from a broader standpoint, gets hijacked because what you guys did, it turns into, should you guys have been in the playoffs or should you guys have been left out? When you look back at the season and just move on from the decision by the committee, how do you kind of look back at what you guys accomplished and what you proved to the rest of college football?
I mean, I thought it was a special year, to be able to go and find yourself 13-0, to really be able to do some remarkable things as a team, to face and respond to adversity the way that we did, to see that team come together to become ACC champs. It was really a special year. Obviously there's some things that happened at the end that were disappointing, but for us, we're jumping into this new year and just excited for the chance to go get better. And that's been our focus since we've been here, is just to continue to push, continue to come together as a program, as a new team here this year. We have some guys that are returning, that are stepping into bigger leadership roles, some newcomers that have joined the program from the high school and high school ranks, and some transfers that have come in as well. But I'm just excited to see this 24 Florida State team come together. We can look back and grow from the experiences that we've had, but now it's time to go build the new experiences for what this team has in front of it.
We know this conference, 7 out of the last 9 seasons, has been won by Clemson. You guys, though, are the most recent ACC champions. You feel like this conference now goes through you and you guys are the team to beat in the ACC?
We're excited about where our program is. We're excited for the opportunity to go get better. And, what we did last year is not going to really make any impact on what this team is, other than, trying to grow from it. But, I'm definitely fired up about the way this team has embraced the challenges that we presented, the way they've responded to the adversity that we've had to kind of work through. And, definitely looking forward to spring ball and that next step that's in front of us.
Mike Norvell here with us, the head coach of the Florida State Seminoles, recent ACC champions. I love what you guys did. I love how you attacked the transfer portal each and every year, bringing in DJ Uiagalelei. Kind of take me through that transfer portal process, landed DJU to Florida State.
DJ's a young man that has great experience. He's been through it all. He's had some tremendous moments throughout the course of his career, and then he's had some challenges that he's had to overcome and really work and grow through. And when the opportunity presented itself, and we got a chance to go through that recruiting process, I really fell in love with the young man. I mean, you see the ability, the arm talent, the size, the strength, all those things. But when you get a chance to know the character that he has, the excitement that he had about Florida State and the opportunity that was here, and not just coming in to play a position, but to come in and be a part of this group and to be a part of this family. And he's really hit the ground running. You've done a great job in the quarterback room with Brock Glenn, with a couple of our young quarterbacks that are in that room with him. I mean, I think it's really got a chance to be a special group, and just the way that he's embraced this team and the standard how we operate, but also how this team has embraced him. I'm excited for what this year can be for everyone involved.
And he's replacing an incredible quarterback for you guys. I love what Jordan Travis was able to give to the program. So it's good to have some experience in that room, and a player that has played at a very high level in DJ Uiagalelei. But what type of quarterback on the field, with some of the good and the bad that we talked about, do you think he could put together and kind of have for you guys this upcoming season?
I think the sky's the limit. I think he's really learned throughout his career. He's been in multiple offenses, was something that really was kind of attractive to us, as we've seen him in kind of a true spread offense is what he did in Clemson, and then kind of more of a pro style approach, and a variety of things that he was asked to do there at Oregon State this last year, and to be able to have kind of a mix of both, and how we operate here is something that I'm excited about. The playmakers that we'll be able to surround him with, and obviously a chance for him to come in and grow and get better. And for us, it's just continuing to push the consistency of him being the best that he can be. But I love his mindset, I love his approach, and really done a good job investing the work into this team and into learning all the things that we're going to ask him to do.
Selfishly, from a coverage standpoint, I love the storyline, and I know that there was Oregon State in between. But you get the former Clemson quarterback now going to have to go up against Clemson and be your quarterback. Is there any personal motivation? Do you sense that maybe DJ trying to get a little revenge up against Clemson now being back in the same conference?
No, I mean, it's just really going to capitalize on this opportunity. And, he's got 1 year. He's got, a chance to go and continue to get better, to continue to improve, and just go be the best him. And, at the end of the day, I think there's plenty of times in this world and throughout the course of your life that you can get distracted by, your outside, circumstances or situations. But, as long as you just focus on continuing to improve and, you build upon the consistency of the areas that he's gotten better, definitely excited about, what the results will end up being.
Spring ball is a crucial time for your program, Mike Norvell, because you've really have taken advantage of this transfer portal. And it's kind of like speed dating. I always say, like, you think you know what you're going to get, but until you actually meet the person and go out on a few dates with them, you may not know what type of players you will ultimately have. How have you guys kind of perfected building that chemistry with having so many transfers that come in each and every year?
Well, I mean, when you look at it, it's just about finding the right fit for Florida State. And, last year, we're about 66% high school players that came in. We got about 33% transfers, but it's still about finding the guys that fit our program. And whether it's a specific position, whether it's a specific need that we think, a young man can address and come and help make our football team better, that we're going to explore all those options. But regardless of what the path to get here, when guys step foot on campus, there is the same expectation. There is the same approach of what we're trying to do to build the best team here in this season that we have in front of us, and that's what I've loved is we've got basically had 12, I think it's 12 or 13 high school freshmen that joined here in January. We had 12 transfers that came in, and so it's been good to see all those guys join the program, and obviously the way that they've meshed with the returning players. I mean, it's been really remarkable. And, it's always about building those relationships, building that trust, and continuing to push that standard of how we operate, to grow together as a team and as a family for this year that's ahead.
To the guys that are coming back and experience the pain of how last year finished, do you just try to nip that in the bud right at the start of spring ball, or do you kind of use it as motivation?
Well, I mean, the pain that was experienced, that was back in December and January, and now it's about, building for what's ahead. I think in life, you always look back to experiences that you've had, and, you try to learn the lessons, and, a lot of things that are in your control that you can be able to have an impact on. And then sometimes there's things that are outside of your control that you still have to work through and go through. And so for us, I mean, once we started back in January, it's all focus is on what we could do today, where we can go, where we can get better, the things that we can grow upon as a team and as a program. And that's been our sole focus. And when we go into spring practice, I just want to be better than we've ever been. And, our guys understand that expectation. It's been the same expectations for the last 4 years. And you're definitely fired up about the group I get to do this with.
So now the CFP, as Mike Norvell is here with us, is going to 12 teams. There's already talks that it's going to be going to 14. I don't like going to that many teams. If I'm going to expand, I would have gone to 6 or 8. But what are your thoughts now as you get ready to embark on year one of a 12-team college football playoff and potential expansion down the road?
You just try to continue to grow and put yourself in position to achieve all that you can. And, I've got a lot of confidence in this team. I like where we've started with our winter program. I like the steps that we've taken. Really enjoy coaching this group, and excited to get into spring practice. But, we know that this is a team that we want to compete to be our best. And, here at Florida State, there is a standard of excellence, and we want to be, in the conversation and put ourselves in position to be competing for championships. But, at the end of the day, I mean, if we could take care of the things that we ultimately can't control, I believe in where we're going and what we'll be able to have in front of us. But whether it's 12, 14, whatever that number eventually becomes, or whatever that is, we don't have all the say when it comes to that. But if we can go be our best and put ourselves in a position to take that step and to get into the playoffs, and I'll be really continuing to push to be better in all areas, and definitely excited about what the future holds here in Tallahassee.
Now you are the guy at Florida State, and you have a lot of buy-in, and a lot of people have belief in what you're doing with what you guys have shown in the football field the last 2 years. Let's say now, since we know that you're staying here, administration comes to you, there's all this talk about the future of Florida State in the ACC? Like, just what are your opinions on Florida State's future with all these rumors that maybe it's the Big Ten or the SEC that's going to come calling?
For us, it's control the things that we can control, and that's what we do as a football team. Obviously as a program, continuing to get better. Obviously we got a great history in the ACC, and obviously coming back into this season as defending ACC champs. I mean, we know that this is we're not going to be sneaking up on anybody, and obviously the opportunity to go and continue to grow, continue to get better, and put our best foot forward as a program. But right now, none of that really impacts this team and what's ahead. And so for us, we're just going to go continue to take those positive steps, and you're definitely excited to see our team and this program continue to move towards the top.
Two more for Mike Norvell. I'll ask you about some of your older players in just a bit as they get set for the NFL draft, but we talked about DJ Uiagalelei extensively. Who are just some other players that you're excited, whether they're newcomers or back with the program, that you're just ready to see take a big step for you guys this upcoming year?
Yeah, we've got a couple of newcomers offensively that Malik Benson, joining the program, receiver coming over from Alabama. Really been impressed with him in the first 8 weeks of our spring season. We're looking forward to spring practice and getting him out there. Looking at our offensive line, we got a very experienced group up front that I think has a chance to continue to improve, continue to get better from where we've been and what we've been able to do. Defensively, I think when you look at our defensive front, yes, we graduated a couple of great players, but when you look at guys like Pat Payton, Josh Farmer, Darrell Jackson, that I think have really taken some tremendous steps. A couple of newcomers that are joining the program, excited about them, and then you're looking at that defense as a whole. I think we've got a great mix of young, explosive players with guys that also have great experience, like a DJ Lundy, Zaire Thomas, Fentrell Cypress, Shaheem Brown. I mean, guys that have really done some great things for us. So just seeing that mix and how those guys all come together, and it's definitely setting up for what's going to be a fun spring ball, and looking forward to seeing those guys go and grow and get better.
I remember this time last year, we were talking about Jared Verse, and we were talking about his top 10 potential in the NFL draft. Keon Coleman entered that first-round conversation as well, and then Fisk with what he was able to do at the Combine. I saw Todd McShay the other day said he wouldn't be surprised if he's a first-rounder. Just how about those three guys who could all be first-round picks for you guys coming up at the end of April in the draft?
All those guys are special players. I thought they showed that throughout the course of this last season. Obviously, as you go to the Combine and you see the way that our guys just as a whole performed, it was really special, and just some tremendous performances. We had 12 guys that went, and multiple of those guys were in the top 3, top 5 of their position in all testing, and it shows the preparation, it shows the training, the development, all the work that's been put in. Definitely a great shout out to Coach Josh Storms, our strength and conditioning coach, and his staff, and what he was able to do with some very talented young men. And you're seeing them go and perform in that moment. I definitely fired up for their futures in the National Football League. And, I truly believe that for all the things that they do on the field, each of those guys that were there, they're special young men off the field, and they'll definitely make any NFL organization proud of how they represent them. And, it's just truly a special group.
Well, it's a credit to their hard work, but also a credit to what you and your staff has really built there at Florida State. Appreciate you taking a few moments today, and we're excited. I know it's 170 days away, but it's going to be coming up sooner rather than later, and we can't wait to see another season of Florida State Seminoles football. So thanks for doing this, Coach.
Yeah, appreciate you, Zach, and go Noles.
There he is, Mike Norvell, joining us on the College Football Fix right here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And this portion of the show was brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck at a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Let's get the latest CBS Sports Radio update in with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Well, the Bears placed the franchise tag on Jalen Johnson with the hopes of working out a long-term deal, and they have. A reported 4-year, $76 million extension, making him one of the highest-paid corners in the game. Tyrann Mathieu gets a 2-year deal from the Saints, and the Broncos are cutting some more players. This time it's Justin Simmons, the longest tenured player on the team. The move will cost them another $3.75 million in dead money, which saves them over $14 million next year. The Timberwolves are now tied with the Thunder for the top spot in the West and will take on the Pacers in Indiana. However, Minnesota has lost Karl Anthony Towns indefinitely with a meniscus injury in his knee. The Celtics saw their 11-game win streak end, and then the Bucks had theirs halted last night with a 35-point loss to the Warriors. Golden State is pulled to within a half game of the Mavericks for the 8th spot in the West, and right back in action tonight against the Bulls, while the Mavs will host the Heat. The Celtics try to bounce back from that loss in Cleveland when they tip off against the defending champs in Denver. Ben Simmons done for the year because of his ongoing back issues, and the Red Sox and Brian Bayo reportedly agree on a 6-year extension. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Coming up Friday in the Jungle, a conversation with Auburn men's basketball coach Bruce Pearl and Alvin DeLauro's week that was. See you Friday, 12 noon Eastern and 9 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
Sean Salisbury scheduled to join us coming up 15 minutes from now. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Our poll question today, you can find it on social media, on Twitter, at Zach Gelb or at CBS Sports Radio. Make sure when you're at those pages, you give them a follow, ZACHGELB or at CBS Sports Radio. Will Russell Wilson be on the Steelers next season? 53.4% say yes. 46.6% say no. Now, I knew Russell Wilson was interested in the Steelers. I didn't know if the Steelers would have interest in him. And what they're doing, per the report by Jerry Dulac, is that they're going to bring him in and they're going to meet with him. So they'll have some meeting. It doesn't mean that he's going to get signed. I think this is a bigger point to Kenny Pickett, where I do believe down deep the Steelers believe that Kenny Pickett is going to be their guy for this upcoming season, but I don't think that they have an abundance of confidence in Kenny Pickett. Like, if they just bring back Mason Rudolph, does that really intimidate Kenny Pickett? Does that really make Kenny Pickett understand, hey, my job is on the line this year? Or do you kind of look for excuses to make, like blaming Matt Canada last year or getting injured as well? I think when you flirt with a quarterback, even though Russ's stock is not in the best situation right now, but a guy that's won a Super Bowl and he's been to 9 Pro Bowls, I think they're trying to kind of put football smelling salts maybe underneath the nostrils of one Kenny Pickett and say, let's go. Let's wake you up, Kenny, and let's get the best version of Kenny Pickett here in your number 3 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So I do think Kenny Pickett will be the starting quarterback of the Steelers this year. I don't think that's the best decision, though. Let's go to Chris in California next up on the Zach Gelb Show. Chris, what's shaking?
Hey, what's going on, Zach?
Doing great. What do you got for me?
So the last time the Steelers won a playoff game was back in 2016. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably when Kenny Pickett started his college career. So how is all of this any of Kenny Pickett's fault? I mean, give the guy a chance to develop. I feel like he hasn't got a fair shake from the get-go. All I heard from the beginning when he got drafted is he had small hands. And then the next thing you know, you throw him in at halftime in week 4 and with little preparation at his rookie year. And then he gets hurt. It's like the Steelers have not given this guy a fair shake, and I've seen multiple quarterbacks that possibly don't deserve more of an opportunity.
Like who?
The guy from Chicago.
Why doesn't but hold on. Kenny Pickett's in a better situation by far than Justin Fields has ever been in.
But the thing is, Kenny Pickett he was a rookie, and he had wide receivers talking behind his back, and you didn't have a solidified O-line.
Well, you got to control what you could control. The guy has played in 25 games in the NFL, and he's a pedestrian, 13 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Now, I can't sit here and say that Kenny Pickett is going to be the star when there was even a question heading into the draft what his ceiling was going to be, and a lot of teams didn't believe in him because he fell to, 20th? and he was the only quarterback in the first round?
The thing is, what people fail to realize is Kenny Pickett is a team player. It doesn't matter if you run the ball in the end zone. He is a team. He's a team guy.
No, Matt Castle was a team guy. It doesn't mean that we should be advocating for him to be a franchise quarterback.
No. These are two different people. Kenny Pickett has all the intangibles. If you need him to win a game, he will win you a game, and he's proven it to do so. It wasn't his fault that he got hurt.
Well, who played better at the end of the season? Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph, he didn't do anything.
What do you mean? He took the team to the playoffs.
Those were 3-team wins.
No, come on. You can't get mad that people don't make excuses for Kenny Pickett, and then you're trying to take away when someone else does something.
Pickett wouldn't have won those 3 games as well.
I don't know if he would have, but I can't sit here and say that he would have.
You guys are quick to run Kenny Pickett out of town, bench him, and then
I just said he's going to be the starting quarterback next year. Did I not?
I'm not talking particularly about you. I'm talking about the mainstream.
You're talking to me. You're not talking about everyone. You're talking on this show to me.
Yeah, but again, you represent the national sports news, so that's nice. Why I'm calling in. And you went ahead and put a poll on Twitter to see if Russell Wilson was going to be with the Steelers or not. So that's
you and Brandon Stokely share something in common. Blaming me for everyone else's takes.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just frustrated on why
So let me ask you this. Chris. Chris, let me just ask you this. You are a frustrated Kenny Pickett supporter. What is the ceiling of Kenny Pickett? 5 years from now, Kenny Pickett is doing what in the NFL?
He can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yes, he can.
Mahomes?
He can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, yes.
Based off of what? Just give me something that you could tangibly latch onto here that makes you think he go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes.
A decent O-line and some level-headed wide receivers, some targets. If you had level-headed wide receivers in the Pittsburgh Steelers room, they possibly would have had a lot more points. I mean, a lot of these, 6 touchdowns he had, a lot of them weren't basically on Kenny Pickett. There was drops, and then also go look at that George Pickens where he wasn't able to put his last foot in bounds to make that touchdown. There's many factors that play into
a lot of quarterbacks have overcome not level-headed wide receivers and still have gone on to have greatness, right? You know that.
Yes, but have many of them won anything?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go back in history. I'm just
Troy
saying,
Aikman? Was Michael Irvin the most level-headed person? Chris, I appreciate the phone call. You got to be related to Kenny Pickett. And I don't believe Kenny Pickett's going to be great. And I think there's better options than him, like the guy that he just trashed from Chicago and Justin Fields. I think Russell Wilson would be a better option. I'd have more, tomorrow, Michael Penix Jr. and Kenny Pickett are both coming out the same year. Who are you picking? I'm picking Michael Penix Jr. So, what are we doing here? But, if he would have said, I think Kenny Pickett could be, give me an average, an above-average quarterback in the NFL, like a solid quarterback in the NFL.
Derek Carr.
If you tell me he could have been Derek Carr, I don't think that's a ringing endorsement. But, Derek Carr has had a long career. At times, he's been on the cusp of being a top 10 quarterback, but he's never consistently been a top 10 quarterback unless if you ask his brother David. But if you're going to swing for the fence and tell me he could go toe for toe, punch for punch with Patrick Mahomes, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because let me tell you what would have happened. If Patrick Mahomes would have had George Pickens this year and Deontay Johnson, compared to who? Rashee Rice and Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Mahomes just won a Super Bowl with nothing. What would he have done with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson? And I understand Pickens and Johnson, they're on the verge of killing one another. But there have been a lot of quarterbacks in this league that have had to deal with wide receivers. Like Donovan McNabb had to deal with Terrell Owens. Did they get to a Super Bowl? Yeah. Tom Brady. Right, there was a perception about Randy Moss. Moss got to New England. Moss behaved himself with Brady. They almost went undefeated. It's you could win with receivers that cause some problems on the sidelines. But Kenny Pickett doesn't have the right, like right now. You have receivers that are annoyed, okay, play better. And there's excuses to be made, but to call up and say he could be Patrick Mahomes based off what? The guy has had one good season in his career. And that was when he was at Pitt, in the final season at Pitt. And I'm not a Kenny Pickett hater. I'm not saying the guy sucks, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's great, he's a top 10. You know, if Kenny Pickett ever turns into a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, that's successful for him. Because outside of 1 year at Pitt, it's not like this guy has a lot to latch on to. All righty. Chris in California. Kenny Pickett's stand. How about that? By the way, where's Ryan in Santa Barbara been? He was on hold once after the Super Bowl. And he never got through. And we haven't heard from him since his 49ers lost the Super Bowl. So we're putting the Batman signal out there. Ryan in Santa Barbara. Because Chris and Ryan, that could be an epic call-off. If you get both of them going. Chris on the Kenny Pickett love, and then Ryan, obviously, with his delusional love for his San Francisco 49ers. Coming on back, Kenny Pickett, the next Mahomes. How about that?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. We'll head out to the guest line right now. Welcome in the former NFL quarterback, longtime national and local sports talk show host. You can catch him mornings in Houston, and that, of course, is Sean Salisbury, kind enough to join us once again on the Zach Gelb Show. Sean, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
I'm doing great, and congrats to you for all your great success. It's awesome to be on with you, brother. Thank you.
Well, I really do appreciate those kind words. I got to start you off in your neck of the woods with C.J. Stroud. I had a chance to talk to him at the Super Bowl. I asked him if he thought he was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. He said he believes he's a top 4, top 3 quarterback in the league. How many quarterbacks do you think right now are better than CJ? Because I have him personally as the 5th best quarterback in football entering the 2024 season.
I believe he's in the 5. Now, the question is, are we, and maybe for CJ, it doesn't even matter, Zach, is this for over the next 5 years? Are we building a decade franchise, or is it for 2024? For him, he may fall under all 3 of those categories, right? I mean, Rodgers is coming back. You obviously got to put him in there. We know about Lamar and Joe Burrow when he's healthy and Mahomes. But what's not to like? While it may be a smaller body of work since it was just a rookie, but there's other things you see about him that aren't just cosmetic. I mean, the guy walks into the locker room and engaged. He gets buy-in. There's no better thrower from 12 to 22 yards and down the field with accuracy that has the guts to know when to take a shot, but also the judicious enough to know when not to try and force something in there. He's well ahead of his time. And I went through this, and I'm glad you said when he said that, we went through it on our show. Every team and saying, okay, 5 years, 3 years, who do you want more? I didn't get past 5 either. I'm with you and I'm with him. And I don't think he means that like, look at me, because players respond to him. I think it's simply production, performance. He doesn't pay attention to the outside noise. He does not have rabbit ears. And if he does, he sure used it to his advantage when he came out of Ohio State. The city loves him, and he's a great player, accurate with a big arm, leadership. And those guys, Zach, you've been around him, you've interviewed him. The guys who do it like that, they're different. When you talk to Mahomes, when you talk to Burrow, they're just different. And we don't know how to bottle it up and sell it, or we would. Yeah, for the next 10 years, next 5 years, next 3 years, you give me C.J. Stroud in the top 5. I personally believe that he will be a Super Bowl champion before he's done, because there's that it factor that none of us can coach or teach.
For the next 10 years, would you rather have Caleb Williams or would you rather have C.J. Stroud?
I'm going with and you're asking me because that's a Trojan now. You're asking me about my USC Trojans and the local guy in Stroud.
I'm putting you in a tough spot, Salisbury.
NFL level that what's that?
I'm putting you in a tough spot, Salisbury.
Hey, no, that's okay because I always go with I've seen the proof in a rookie year. Now, if all of a sudden next year we're having this conversation and Caleb goes out and does what C.J. Stroud did and is spectacular and an awesome playmaker like we saw him, it seemed to be every week in college because he had no defense to help him. But today I'm taking Stroud. Stroud's a better pure thrower of the football. We've been seeing that since he left, high school and in college. He's always been able to throw it. We shouldn't be shocked by that. It's how fast he took over an offense, that he understands how to manipulate and see coverage and get through his progressions, and the old pocket presence. Burrow has been so good at that. We know Brady was good. He's got that trait. He's not going to beat you with his feet a million times, but the ability's there. Give me Stroud now because it's still an unfinished, a question that's not fully answered. We have some stuff we have to find out if Caleb Williams transfers to the NFL. I know this, and I saw about 95% of his throws over the last 3 years, meaning Caleb Williams. Listen, when you plug the tape in, the guy can play. He's a tremendous talent. But can he handle it with a team doesn't have the offensive personnel that maybe he's used to having? Is he going to have the right coach to get him in position to succeed? I'll take Stroud right now because he's proven to me that we haven't even seen him play his best football, and he's already shown that he's one of the 5 or 6 best players in the position in this league at his position. I'll take him.
And it's crazy. Sean Salisbury here with us. One good year out of a quarterback, and it just changes the whole perception of that organization because the Texans were in a bad spot. It's not like they have a lot of elite talent right now on that roster, and you get the right quarterback, it just changes the whole vibe of that building. You look at the Bears, they haven't had a quarterback in forever. Do you think with the knowledge you have of Caleb Williams that he has what it takes to change that organization around within a year or two?
Yeah, most quarterbacks, there's the group that's, working their butt off to make it. There was a 5th-round draft choice or pick. And then there's that group in the middle that's not the elite 5 or 6. When we say elite, that's, the Prescotts and the Cubs that are great players. You can be a great player and not have a Super Bowl ring or not be, making $50 million a year. There's a lot of guys that live in there, and then there's the next level. Back to Stroud real quick. You're right. What he did, and the great ones, you saw it in Brady when he did it. We see those traits in guys that elevate the building when they walk in. Everybody seems to get better. Which was a 3-win team, and then they win 10. That's not by accident. And he shows you stuff that is sustainable. Now with Caleb Williams, listen, the only question I think people have about Caleb Williams is the talk, whether it's banter, rumor, hearsay of this stuff. Is he a leader? Does he get buy-in? Is he a diva? Is he selfish? You can't watch him on tape and say the guy's not a playmaker, even if it's not old school, sit in the pocket, 1, 2, 3 and throw it, or take a hitch and throw it, which Stroud has. With the Chicago Bears talent, and Fields is a talented guy, I think that Caleb Williams is enough of a playmaker with his arm and his feet that he can elevate them. But if they kept the same personnel and you stuck Caleb Williams there, is Caleb Williams taking them to a Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4 years with the similar personnel? The answer is no. It's not. Now, you upgrade it. He's got the ability. Do I think he can elevate players? Yes, but I've got to see more of it. Listen, we can all speculate. The college game's different. I saw Kurt Warner's tweet a couple weeks ago about watching how it's trying to evaluate the college guys now because there's so many different, the sideways football, screen game, bubble screen game, to evaluate how they transfer or translate to the next level is hard to do. But the skills are there. So, listen, I'm not sitting on the fence on this. Do I think that he's going to turn them into a Super Bowl team overnight and do what Stroud did to them? I don't. I think there's some growing pains. Do I think he's got the ability and there's an it factor about him? Yes. But my whole thing is I don't care how talented you are. You have to walk into the building, and without asking for people to follow you and go side by side with you, they got to want to do it. And just the way you carry yourself. And I know it sounds cheesy and elementary, but it does. You know what forced leadership is. When you force it, it doesn't last. And there's a difference between a motivated quarterback or person and a disciplined one. Motivation is temporary. Discipline lasts a long time. Stroud's got it. I'm hoping Caleb Williams does. I think he's a phenomenal skill set, and he does have an it factor. But I think early on he's going to need some good players around because a lot of those guys get into the hero worship, the hero thought, where Caleb Williams, like at SC, felt if he didn't score 40 and they had to didn't make every play, they couldn't win. And he was right. But the Bears do have a little skill. But listen, whether you draft him or you keep Fields and go get 7 new players and draft picks, the better players. I always laugh when people say, well, look at the team this guy has. Of course he's a good quarterback. Well, isn't that what we want? Montana with Rice and Roger Craig. We want Randy Moss with Brady. That's what franchises and general managers do. Put good players around great quarterbacks, and then you win Super Bowls. So they're not ready. And Chicago, and currently, even with Caleb Williams, is not going to be playing in February. They're still going to need to build around him. I think he's probably a little bit better, more advanced in the pass game, but I still think Fields has a future if he gets with the right team, whether it's the Bears or somebody else.
Talking to Sean Salisbury right now. I know fit is such an important thing where you go in the NFL, but who do you think will end up being the better quarterback? Are you more of a fan of Jaden Daniels, or is it Drake May?
Man, different types of quarterbacks. I fell in love with Jaden Daniels' game from the first year with Brian Kelly to the second year. His initial year at LSU, feeling it way out. And I saw him a lot as a freshman when he was at Arizona State before he transferred, because that's my former conference. And to watch what he did when he first got there, they didn't take shots down the field. So the question on Jaden Daniels wasn't athleticism, leadership. It was, what's he got to do when you got to make those plays vertically and you got to take shots at the right situation, and how will he respond? The transformation of his deep ball game and down the field game was unbelievable. Now I know he's got two pretty damn good receivers to throw it to, but you still got to put it in that window, the old sniper, aim small, miss small mentality. His improvement in the down the field game, the ability to take over a game, it's like a good point guard, Zach. I know what a basketball fan you are too. The point guard that can disrupt a game without scoring is the type of point guard you want. He's having one of those days he's not shooting well. Can you go get me Jason Kidd 14 assists and 16 rebounds? That's who Jaden Daniels is, even though he put the numbers up and should have won the Heisman and earned it. But I saw improvement in a guy who commanded everything. And he beat you with his feet. He beat you with his arm. He beat you with his leadership. If I'm picking today, the second pick in this draft is Jaden Daniels. And I understand why people and some think that Jaden Daniels could jump ahead of Caleb Williams. It's not going to happen. But if for the next in 10 years, I think we'll be saying both are starting quarterbacks. I'm taking Jaden Daniels in that one because I think he's a more versatile player and a more consistent performer on the field. I'll take him, but I do like Drake May's ability to throw the ball, and he's a big physical presence.
And the Giants at 6, I think, has turned into a fascinating conversation because it feels like one way or another, regardless of what the order is, we're going to see Williams, May, Daniels somewhere 1, 2, and 3. Then at 6, you're already starting to hear rumors about J.J. McCarthy going to the Giants. And some may say, well, why not Michael Penix Jr.? Now, McCarthy's being built off potential and that he's been a winner, and they didn't ask him to do as much as Michael Penix Jr., where he carried that offense at Washington, even though he had a ton of great wide receivers, but they won because of him. Where do you kind of fall in line? If the Giants are definitely taking a quarterback at 6, you have those 3 off the board, would you go McCarthy or would you go Michael Penix Jr. or maybe someone else?
I've been on McCarthy on my show since the middle of the fall. I think North Carolina basketball for this one. Back when Dean Smith was coaching the Jordan, that group, where Anton Jameson, Vince Carter, those guys who 16, 17, 18 points a game, 20, when they got to the NBA, they all 3 erupted scoring the basketball. Not that Dean Smith didn't know how to coach him or Michael Jordan couldn't score, but they worked within it. It's the same in Michigan. They play physical. They line up in 2 backs a lot. They utilize his feet, run inside zone, RPOs, and ask him to throw. They want him to throw at Michigan in that 20, 22, 24 range, and he's accurate. He's a big physical kid who can move, and he wins. And I know that's the object. When people say, well, yeah, he's a winner, but it's not spectacular. Well, do you want 5,000-yard passer and an 8-game winner? Or would you like to have a winner who keeps winning and goes 18 of 22 for 218 yards and no picks and throws 2 touchdowns and beats you and rushes for 40 yards? I'll take that guy. And I never had that movement. I'm a pure pocket guy and throw it, but the ability to put pressure and stress on a defense and change the way they game plan, that's what J.J. McCarthy will do. So when people say, yeah, but he didn't put up gaudy numbers, all you got to do is watch. If he's well coached at the next level, he will expand in bandwidth his passing game. I think Michael Penix, I love his story. I love the way he rips it. I think if you draft him in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, I think 1st round's a little too early. I do. Now, his production in college said it isn't, but I think the age is going to affect him, even though 26? I think it's a little overblown, but he's got great experience. I think he makes a team and maybe be a starter down the road in a really good way because I love the kid. I just think McCarthy 10 years from now is going to be a far better player. 5 years from now, because I just think he's more versatile. His body hasn't been beat up as much. He does not lose at any level for that point, and that's the object of this. I would take McCarthy fourth. I actually think there's probably some that even think, well, you know what, maybe McCarthy 5 years down the road can chase down a Drake May. I don't think the Giants, maybe they'll take him. I don't think he's lasting past the Vikings or the Broncos by any stretch of the imagination. So I get it. They're not winning a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. They'll go out and get Russ Wilson. His best football's behind him, even though he got a little better this year. You're going to need something fresh and new, and why not a guy who knows how to win? I think he'd be a good get, but if you don't get him there, you're not getting him any later than the 10th or 11th or 12th pick, because Vikings and Denver are going to pounce, and they should. I'll go with McCarthy as the fourth best, and he may, in the long run, end up being better than one or two more of them if his leadership skills continue to translate to the NFL level. He'll be a better passer in the NFL than he was in college. I think he's got that in him.
Where do you think Sean Salisbury, Justin Fields is going to wind up when it's all said and done?
If you're looking, well, think about the spots that are open, Zach. Think about this for a second. What, your team, the team in New York, the Giants? I mean, you go in and you've got a chance. I mean, you're the starter now. I mean, while Pittsburgh, Tomlin's ability. Listen, I wish I could go back and play. If you said who's a coach that just does a phenomenal. We know the Andy Reid's and Belichick's. I think Mike Tomlin's as good a coach as we've had in 30 years. I do. The buy-in. I don't care what they're saying about, well, they don't, when the players vote on the franchise, the survey about the organization. But when it comes to the coach, the dude just doesn't lose, and he does it with all kinds of different bodies and players. So for me, Pittsburgh would be a good spot. The problem is you're still going to have to make sure the weapons around him allow him and his work that'll be incumbent upon Justin Fields to do a lot of lonely work when nobody's talking, working in silence to advance his ability to beat you when you take away his legs. Because you go over the last 30 years, name me a guy who was a runner first, passer second that won a Super Bowl. You're not going to find him. You go all the way to Steve Young, Elway, Kurt Warner, Ben Roethlisberger. They throw it first, and then now we're at a point where we love them to extend to pressure the defense. If you get both, you'll win a lot of championships like Mahomes. Josh Allen's a guy, Lamar Jackson. We see them. But you got to deliver the ball from the hula hoop in the pocket. If you want to win on time, throwing receivers open with accuracy in this league and lead them when all else has gone to hell in a handbasket. So I think Fields has got an enormous amount of ability. He's not a polished passer. He's got to be better coached than he was in Chicago, or better coached in Chicago if they decide to keep him and go get him weapons.
I know
Pittsburgh, maybe Minnesota. Cousins leaves to Atlanta, but you're still a ways away from the polish. But I can tell you this, when he's going, and if he's coached right, there's a lot of ability. He's not ready to go in and be handed a job anywhere else, I don't think, than those two places.
So Justin Fields could be on the table for Pittsburgh. Today, You had this report out about Russell Wilson, how there's mutual interest. Maybe at 20, they take Michael Penix Jr. if he's still on the board. You go through all these options. I think they're all better than Kenny Pickett, but I just don't think the Steelers are going to move off of Pickett. I think they're going to give him one more year. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's the thing. And what are you giving up for Justin Fields?
Probably a second-round pick, I would say.
Give up a what? What's
second-round pick, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I said on my show. I said, I don't think you're going to give a first, and you're going to hold, knowing that they want to draft Caleb Williams. If they do, you're going to hold them hostage. Say, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
you're going to take this, or you're going to deal with it, and maybe have to get something less later. I'm with you. I don't think, considering, with the coordinator situation with Matt Canada and him being gone, as they try to adjust this, I think they also think, let's try Kenny one more time. Let's see if Kenny Two Gloves can go out and get this. Because really, we've seen some spectacular, we've seen some awful, and we've seen a lot in between. But this will be the biggest year for another good run for people to look at Kenny Pickett different. I'm with you. And Mike Tomlin's a pretty loyal guy, as is that organization, a very loyal, should I say. So I'm with you. They may not want to give up an asset. They say, let's run it back with Pickett. We'll jump back into this thing next year when there's, once again, the Quinn Ewers and guys that are available. But one thing I know, they're not going to be picking high, because Mike Tomlin's teams always just sitting in that area of, we're going to win 9, we're going to win 10, we're going to win 11, draft purgatory. But I love him, and I'm okay if they give Pickett another role. They're not winning a Super Bowl anytime soon with him at quarterback, although I think he does have some throwing skills. Put it this way, Fields is a better two-dimensional player, which is obvious, but Kenny Pickett can throw it. I just want to see Justin Fields with good coaching and good players and see where that takes him, whether it's in Chicago or somewhere else. Hell, and if he stays in the division because Cousins leaves and he goes to a team like that. We finally saw a guy like Jordan Love get a chance to play, and look what he's done. Maybe it'll be the same for Fields. When I say play with a good roster that's well coached, it isn't constantly changing their coaching staff. But I'm with you. I think they run it back with Pickett one more time. And if you bring somebody in, maybe it's a veteran like a Russ Wilson that you pay a little bit of money to. But I don't think that Pickett's going to go in there or they're going to move him just yet. 2 years is too soon, I believe.
Got about 90 seconds left. Sean Salisbury, before we let you run, what's your message to Russell Wilson now? Because the way we look at him is totally different. And I didn't think he played as poorly as what some had said this past year.
No, he played better. There is no question about it. And a lot of, there's the cheese factor that comes with it, the Subway commercials. And listen, when you're married to a celebrity and he's a celebrity and had a good run, and listen, Russell's got that motivation as a rah-rah guy. Some people it rubs wrong. And let's face facts. 2 years ago, the first year he's in Denver, they got fleeced. It was a horrible deal. All the money, that's well documented. He didn't forget how to play. But when I watch him, there's something a little hesitant about him. Maybe it was because Hackett was there and he couldn't get into the mix. They just didn't fit. Maybe Sean Payton and him didn't fit. He's not pulling the trigger with aggressiveness, not only just throwing it, but running it. And then when you feel like you've either lost a city or lost a team and their belief in you, what do? You try a little too hard. You work a little harder to do things that aren't natural for you. I feel like with him the last couple of years, a lot of things been forced on the field, during interviews, during commercials. For Russ Wilson to get back to his best football has been played, in my opinion, and he played better last year. I think that Russ Wilson needs to go back and treat this like he was a third-round pick that had a baseball future too and got to Seattle, and Matt Flynn's elbow was bothering him, and treat it like, you know what? I'm going to treat it like I'm a third-round pick trying to make a team. Get rid of all the celebrity. Go back to the grinder and allow your talent to take over and let it rip. Maybe we'll see a different Russell Wilson. His decisions over the last couple of years have waned, yet the guy's had up to that point was on a fast track to the Hall of Fame. He's a hell of a player in the past, but we may have seen the best of Russ Wilson. But I think I root for people's comebacks, and maybe he can find himself somewhere else. But he's got to go back to treating it like he's trying to take a job, not that he's been handed a job.
He is Sean Salisbury. Sean, always appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
You got it. There he is, the great Sean Salisbury, joining us on CBS Sports Radio. Very, very high on J.J. McCarthy. And I think there's a lot of potential with J.J. McCarthy. I've watched every Michigan game during his career. And when I see J.J. McCarthy, there's a lot of untapped potential. I thought in the TCU game, even though they lost, J.J. McCarthy, if they would have just let him run the ball a little bit more, he was brilliant. And this past year, they did what they wanted to do to win football games. And that was run the football. So, he's the one I'm most curious about. I am all in on Caleb Williams. I am all in on Jaden Daniels. Drake May, I don't believe it. Michael Penix Jr., I think if he went to a place like Minnesota, he could be successful. And I think the talent around him is the most important thing. I think he's just a good quarterback if all things work. But I think the biggest boom or bust guy in this draft is McCarthy. Because he could be like a Daniel Jones where it's like, ugh, even though Jones had that one good season. But if he starts to get everything going and they start to figure out untapped potential means you haven't done it yet, then it's like, maybe it's one of those guys in a few years like where you say, watch out. But for McCarthy, I've leaned more on the side that I think it's going to go more in the wrong direction than it is the right direction, even though I loved what that Michigan program's been able to accomplish the last 3 years. Coming on back, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. There's sometimes you see a story and you go, that can't be true. And most of the times it's like, it's one of those gotcha moments where it wasn't true, but you thought for a second it may be true, or maybe you were hoping that it's true. So today, when I read that 57-year-old legendary boxer Mike Tyson is going to be squaring off against Jake Paul in some Netflix special, I'm like, huh? and it's going to be at Jerry's World, and it's going to be in July? I'm like, this can't be true. I don't know. Jake Paul has a boxing career where he's been 9-1. He lost to Tommy Fury, which is a little questionable, but it has been more of a success. It's been definitely successful, more successful than anyone thought. Like when he was fighting Woodley originally and some other guy like Nate Diaz, people were like, I don't know, even if it's a crossover, I don't know if Jake Paul's going to win, and he's 9-1 through 10 fights. So there's a credit to Jake Paul, but there's also an extremely polarizing side of Jake Paul. And I would say, Samter, just gauge it me a number here. We put out a poll question. Who do you want to see win? Mike Tyson or Jake Paul? Now, I see Stu and Samter are laughing at the question. Let me just not sound like an idiot here, which sometimes that is very easy for me to sound like an idiot on this very fine radio program. I'm fully understanding that the overwhelming majority are going to want to see Mike Tyson beat the snot out of Jake Paul. But there is this wonderful yet horrible device, an application that we call Twitter. And rarely is there an overwhelming majority. Like, you don't see a lot of poll questions that are like 90, 95%, where everyone's on one side, because you have trolls, you have idiots, you have morons, you have dopes, and then trolls again. But I think if we put out that poll question, even with Mike Tyson's pass, I'm saying this is like 92%. People would want to see Mike Tyson defeat Jake Paul.
You're way off.
More?
Way off. It's 99.9%. The only people...
There's no such thing as 99.9% on Twitter.
Well, 99% then. If you're the only people who are going to vote the other way are Jake and Logan Paul and their family.
I'm 92. I bet you if we put that poll question out there, I'm saying it's like 92 or 93.
I'm saying it's higher.
Because you got to remember, in the social media world, Jake Paul's a big deal, big marker.
Yeah, but even the people who like Jake Paul still want to see Jake Paul get knocked out.
It's actually brilliant by Jake Paul.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Because, so let's take it from what Samter's saying. I think most people are going to say, even though he's 50, like the only way you're not picking Mike Tyson here is just because of his age. And I know there's sometimes we see videos of Mike Tyson kind of limping around, and then there's other times where some moron in a plane tries to pick a fight with him and he beats the snot out of him. Or I saw him sparring the other day, and he still looks like he has it. So you can make the case it's kind of like riding a bike. You never forget how to do it with Mike Tyson. So I think the only reason why someone would not take Mike Tyson, and I still don't think it would be many people, would just be because of his age that he's closing in on the big 6-0. But that's the only reason why you wouldn't take him. So from a Jake Paul standpoint, you lose. All righty. You get the crap beat out of you. I don't think you get humbled. You get your money. You get your views, all that stuff. And it was, okay, at least you did it. But what happens if he wins? Like, if he wins, you get to say, everyone thought my boxing career was a joke. Even though Mike Tyson is 57, he's still one of the baddest mother bleepers on the planet. And I beat him. Like, I was going to say there's nothing to lose. If you're Jake Paul, but like you could die. Yeah. It is Mike Tyson.
I mean, like his mobility and ability to like walk.
Like, honestly, there's been a lot of dumb takes here. 10 years, 11 years, right? CB? I know that we celebrated the 10-year anniversary. Was that a year ago? I'm terrible with time. The network's been around for 11 or 12 years. There's been a lot of dumb takes. Anytime you have a platform where you have people talking, different hosts throughout 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's going to be some takes that you look at and you go, wow, really dumb. The dumbest take I've ever heard. And I'm not just saying this because people think there's like a big feud between me and this person. Patriots and the Jets is not really a rivalry, folks, when one person always wins and the other person always loses. But David Shepard maybe had the dumbest take ever, where he thinks just because Shep is in shape and he does all these like marathons and things like that, that in a ring, he wasn't saying like punch for punch he'd be better than Mike Tyson, but he thinks just because he could dance around the ring, he would outlast the great Mike Tyson. All what? 5'8", Shep is maybe like 155 pounds, and he is a string bean.
Hold on, you're. This is a joke, right? Like
No.
Shep never actually said that.
Oh, not only did he say it,
Wait.
you bring it up to him, he will adamantly defend it. And also, he went after people that said that he was crazy. I think it happened when Shep was working with JR. That's, yes, that was an actual take that did occur, and he still stands by it. Dumbest take ever on CBS Sports Radio. Congratulations.
Zach, you've known me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For me to not have words to say in a situation, for me to not,
You're speechless.
My brain
Stuttering
can't.
Santa here.
My brain doesn't work right now.
Put it this way. Forget Mike Tyson. Shep wouldn't beat Samter in a fight here at CBS Sports Radio. I've seen Samter with rage. Samter with rage against Shep with rage. I'm taking Samter 10 out of 10 times. Not even close.
I appreciate listen, I could fight. I've been in a couple fights. I'm not doubting that I could potentially take him. However, Shep is an elite, well, not elite, a very good marathon runner.
Okay. That doesn't mean you're a good fighter.
So there is a good chance that he would just rope-a-dope me and outlast me.
Okay. Can Shep throw a punch?
I would be surprised.
He would be like an NBA player. Hold me back, hold me back, hold me back.
No, but forget about me. Like
Mike Tyson, he said. Yeah. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard a human being say. I'm someone that sometimes my friends go, you don't realize your own strength. Like they've said that to me. Even with me not being able to realize my own strength, I'm able to realize that I would not feel comfortable getting in a ring with Mike Tyson because he would beat the crap out of me in about 3 seconds. One punch. See, Shep's argument was he could find a way where Tyson wouldn't connect one punch. Yeah. One of the greatest fighters of all time can't land one punch on stupid Shep. All right?
I mean, he realized that the ring is a finite space, right? Eventually, Tyson would catch him. And eventually, Tyson would just put him up against the ropes, and one punch, and Shep's head would actually fall off.
It would explode.
His head would land in the seventh round of the seventh row of the crowd.
Yeah. He'd probably bite Shep's ear
You
off.
can run around all you want. Eventually, there's ropes around you. You're going to get caught. You're going to run out of room. Tyson will just close in and one punch. And forget about like 8 rounds,
And
9
you're
rounds,
dead.
10 rounds. It's going to be 30 to 40 seconds into the first round. You can run all you want. You're going to get caught very quickly, and you're going to die.
Yeah.
Anyway,
crazy.
sorry. Let's get back to Jake Paul.
I think the only one Shep could beat up in a fight here at CBS Sports Radio is probably Jackster. Maybe Stu. That's probably about it.
Here's the thing. Stu is feisty and he's tough. I think we do have to show Stu how to punch better.
I've never been in a fight in Zach's defense.
Yeah, so for this, when I go to give Stu a fist, he's gotten better at this over the years. When I give him a fist bump, he takes his thumb and he puts it inside the fist.
Okay.
And so if you're trying to punch somebody like that, you're going to break your hand in one punch and he's
for my
done.
thumb, yeah.
So he'll have to learn how to punch first. But once he learns that like very, generic technique, he'll be fine. He's tough, he's strong, and he's a feisty guy.
Think about that.
He just needs to learn how to punch.
So I get invited to a lot of these boxing things that like we don't go to. I kind of want to go one year when Mike Tyson is at one of these things and just have Mike Tyson on the show and show a video of Shep and say, hey, champ, this I can't say words that I want to say in the radio right now. This jackass, sorry, Mom, I know my mom doesn't like when I use that word, thinks he could take you in a fight. Just like crazy. Do you have interest in this fight, though, Tyson and Paul? Because at first I was like, no. And then I'm thinking about it, and I go, it's in the middle of summer. There's going to be nothing to do. I'll probably watch it because I just want to see what Mike Tyson looks like, and I want to see if Jake Paul could hang. Like, when Mayweather and McGregor fought, I knew it was going to be a joke, but actually being better when I thought. And McGregor did hang in there with Mayweather more than I thought, and even Mayweather had some respect at the end of it for McGregor. Like, boxing hasn't really resonated with my generation. Mayweather and Pacquiao just waited too long to fight, and it was just a joke. You did have Wilder and Fury. Those were great fights. I absolutely love that. But really, like, my generation kind of has generated more to UFC than ever boxing because boxing hasn't put out great fights for us. And whenever they do put out a great fight, that Adelaide bird messes it up with the scoring.
And honestly, even Wilder Fury. It was interesting.
No, that was a great fight.
Sure, but it was as good as you're going to get in this generation. I remember the Holyfield and Bowe fights, the trilogy there, and the Hagler Hearnses and the Sugar Ray Leonards, like the Roberto Duran's, No Mas, like these amazing epic battles between warriors in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Some of the best fights you can possibly imagine.
Sound like my dad. Do you remember Rumble in the Jungle, young man?
But and not even that far back, but I'm just even talking about like even Tyson Holyfield or some of these amazing fights. Tyson Spinks, when we didn't realize how good Tyson was.
Yeah.
Foreman, when he made his comeback. Some of these fights were amazing. We haven't had a fight, an actual boxing match that I've been excited about in 2 decades.
Yeah,
right?
For me, it was Fury and Wilder.
Yeah,
Because of
even
what
that,
happened the first time.
I had to force it.
And then the second time was awesome. And through the second time, it did generate buzz for the third time. And it made me really turn on Deontay Wilder. But you know what should happen? The winner of this fight, Tyson and Jake Paul, gets Shep. That's what we should set up. Jake Paul wins, he goes up against Shep. Tyson wins, he goes up against the immortal David Shepard. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Man, I don't even know if Shep could beat Hickey in a fight. And Hickey's like the nicest person around here. And he thinks he could beat Mike Tyson because he's just going to be able to sprint around the ring. Give me a break. It's amazing how some people just overrate their athletic ability. There's a reason why we're all talking here behind the microphone, okay? All right, there is a reason. Let me just remind everyone about that. Latest CBS Sports Radio update with, hold on. Ack, you beat Shep in a fight, you think?
No.
No, okay. So we found another person that Shep could maybe knock out. Mike Tyson, Shep. If we had you on play-by-play, how quickly do you think that night would end for Shep?
Oh, it's less time than Michael Spinks lasted.
Down goes Shepard. Down goes the good Shepard.
If he gets 10, it's like one of those things, like, you know, dancing with the mechanical, not the mechanical, but going with the bull. If you could last 10 seconds in there. Yeah, if he can last 10 seconds, he should get X amount of dollars.
It's like Family Guy when they do the Mets season. Opening day, here's the first pitch, and the season's over.
It's awesome. That's one of my favorite clips of all time.
Yeah, because you're a pain in the ass Yankees
so
fan.
Good, though.
David Shepard steps into the ring. Mike Tyson punches him, and his life is over. Here's the latest CBS Sports Radio update with the Ack Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, Jalen Johnson is one of the best corners in the game, and the Bears acknowledge that days after using the franchise tag on him. The two sides reportedly come to terms on a 4-year extension worth as much as $76 million. $52 million is guaranteed. This is a tough time of the year where finances take precedence over sentimentality in the NFL. The Broncos are saying goodbye to their longest tenured player, releasing veteran safety Justin Simmons, saving them over $14 million. The Dolphins have come to terms with veteran tight end Jonnu Smith on a 2-year deal worth $10 million. The Timberwolves' Karl Anthony Towns suffered a meniscus injury and is out indefinitely. The injury comes with the Wolves currently tied with the Thunder for the top spot in the West. They'll take on the Pacers tonight in Indiana, while OKC is idle. And tonight's matchup in Denver could be a preview of the NBA Finals, where the defending champs host the Celtics, who have been the NBA's top team. Boston's 11-game winning streak ended the other night with a loss in Cleveland. Denver currently a game off the Western Conference lead and trailing the Thunder and Timberwolves. I'm Rich Ackerman.
What's going on, everybody? This is JR. Join me here on CBS Sports Radio for the JR Sport Brief. Weeknights, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, it is a Thursday on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. So we'll end the show out with a Zach Gelb Show PSA.
It's a Thursday. What do you have to say? It's the weekly Zach Gelb Show PSA.
Who's with me? Let's go! Come on!
Alrighty, there's a problem in my apartment building. I don't post on these message threads that the building provides if there's any problems or you're trying to sell things or stuff like that. Like, I live in my apartment. I go to the gym in my apartment. I walk to work from my apartment. I go home, I sleep, and that's about it. Like, I'm not interacting on the message boards inside the apartment. But there's been an issue because on my floor, it sounds like someone's playing like an action movie each and every night. Now, it hasn't really bothered me, but it's bothered others on the floor. So this has been a month issue. And now someone a month later is just responding to it. And the message was this today. Following up as I'm seeing this thread just now, I have to agree, there are extremely loud thuds and stomping coming from what I believe is apartment. They list the apartment. This has been very disturbing throughout both daytime work hours and random hours late into the night, 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. or early in the morning. It has abrupted peace and has been quiet, quite an unfortunate annoyance. And then they continue to say other things. Here's my PSA. When an issue is hot, like this was a month ago, you don't respond a month later with several paragraphs. And not only that, I'm sorry to do this, folks. You could complain about the noise if it's past like 10 p.m. during the day because it's disrupting your work time hours. Well, get to the office, all right? All right, I understand there was a period where we all worked from home. You could probably go into an office. But this is like ridiculous. I would never send a complaint about the noise level of a building during the day. Heck, I used to work overnights. I would never send a complaint when I was trying to sleep during the day. But I just think it's ridiculous to complain about the noise level of a building during the day. During the day, blast your movies, blast your music, do whatever you want. And then at 10 p.m., it's a cutoff. You got to be respectful of people. So that's my Zach Gelb Show PSA. It's the ridiculousness going on in my building. People complaining that it's disrupting their work time hours. Get back into the office. Let's go. This ain't 2020 anymore. All right, Santa, what do you got?
I'm about to explode here. I'm about to just blow up. I honestly hadn't really thought of a PSA. And then that last segment happened. And Shep, what are you talking about, kid? You can outlast Mike Tyson in a boxing ring? You can beat Mike Tyson because you can run around long enough to tire him out and then actually win the fight because Tyson's going to get too tired to fight you in the final rounds? Are you crazy? Okay, Jim Boeheim said this the other day when you were talking about Jay Williams. There are some people who say such stupid things that they should never be able to get onto the radio or TV ever again. That take by Shep is not only the dumbest take I've ever heard in sports, it's the dumbest take I've heard in the history of life. I honestly cannot fathom what he's saying. I can't fathom it. If he were to say I can last one round with Mike Tyson, I would say that's the dumbest take I've ever heard. But at least you're saying it's one round. For you to say that you can last the entire fight because you run marathons and you can win the fight against Mike freaking Tyson is so stupid you should never get behind the mic again. Dave Shepard, I love you. You're a nice kid. You're a nice guy. You're smart. You know the NBA. But you should shut up and never, ever talk on the radio or behind a mic ever again. That is so stupid. So dumb.
I took my headphones out and I could still hear every word that you were saying.
It is so I can't do it anymore. I will never look at him again the same way. I can't. That is so dumb.
And here we are today at the funeral of David Shepard on CBS Sports Radio. All righty. Stu?
Well, I don't think I can top that. I'll just say this.
Send us home, Stu. Save us.
I am sick of changing the clocks, and I know we do this twice a year. And I'm absolutely sick of losing an hour. It's either bad or worse. Mm-hmm. And I think the worst is when I leave here and it's pitch black out. So the fact that we're not going to have that anymore, that's great. But the fact that I now lose an hour of my weekend because we changed the clocks, I hate it. It's just so annoying. I just wish we'd have the same time all 365 days. That's it.
I used to love it when I did 2 to 6 a.m. Eastern time because it would spring the clocks forward right at 2. I'd always get on the air at 3 and go, that was the best hour of radio that I've ever done. That's awesome. Wow, I will power rank this. I had the worst PSA today. Samter, 1. Stu, 2. Yours truly in at number 3. That was something. Samter, you need to sit down.
I am sitting.
You need. Yeah, I thought you were standing.
Oh, yeah. PSA number 2. People who overestimate my height.
You need to take a sip of water. You need to do some JJ McCarthy like meditation, and you just need to relax. I thought we were going to see my producer die on the air. You were so red. I've never seen you that mad.
I feel the vein in my head pulsating right now.
Alrighty, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Big thanks to Jamal Mashburn for joining us in studio, Mike Norvell, Sean Salisbury, each and every one of you. We will hopefully all be back tomorrow. I know I will. I know Stu will be. Samter, I'm worried about that blood pressure, my friend. I am worried about that blood pressure. Talk Mignon, everybody. We out. Bye. Peace. Really, peace to Samter.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes.